So let's pick up where we left off. The case of doctors failing to treat a premature baby born after 21 weeks and 5 days. In not caring for that child, the doctors followed the guidance laid down by the British Council of Perinatal Medicine. These guidelines are readily available online. Amongst the other guidance it gives is the management of babies born extremely preterm, as in less than 26 weeks. I do not intend to go into the full detail of the advice it gives. There's a link in the description should you want to look it up. If you do, what you will find is that the guidance is given by a body of experts in the field and is based on sound evidence and reasoned criteria. It also undoubtedly takes into account the survival rates and the fact that at 21 weeks it is unlikely that the child's lungs and brain were fully formed. Also, that the youngest premature child ever to survive was in fact older than the child in this case. Whilst Hannity's presentation of the story is undoubtedly done to make you think otherwise, the idea that treatment and care for this child was prevented on a whim or by reason of the capricious judgment of a doctor or doctors is a nonsense. It is a tragic case, but what is equally tragic, if not more so, is that Hannity would attempt to use this one-off case to undermine the quality of the work done by the NHS, which, as I have stated before, is rated by 93% of its patients as being good or excellent. Hannity then refers to osteoporosis and the refusal by the NHS to provide certain drugs. Again, the source for this is easily found, and it is an issue that I do not intend to cover in depth. It is similar to the story relating to the Herceptin not being provided for women with breast cancer, a matter I referred to in an earlier video. To deal with this issue in depth would merely involve me repeating the same arguments about the NICE and the idea that any health service cannot, in reality, be an inexhaustible sink on resources. So there we are, 5 videos to clear up 30 seconds of nonsense and scaremongering from Hannity. During the course of this series, my intention has only ever been to clarify the misrepresentations made by Hannity and to indicate that, despite his comments, the NHS works well and is highly regarded by almost everyone that uses it, and also those that are fortunate enough not to require its services. Now that I have said that, I do want to make a number of more personal points. Firstly, it is my opinion that healthcare is a social and moral issue more than it is an economic issue. However, some of the comments left on previous videos make it clear that they do not share that view. Well, if you want to talk about economics, then you may wish to look at this site, the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, or OECD for short. Check out the section on health, and in particular the report, Why does the United States spend so much more on healthcare than other countries? You will find that in relation to expenditure, the United States spends twice what the United Kingdom does when looked at as a proportion of the GDP. A figure that is more readily understood may be the spending per capita per annum. In the United States, the figure is $7,290. In the United Kingdom, $2,992. Also, you may wish to consider this aspect. The following account is given with the full knowledge and permission of the person involved. YouTube user Happy Cabby was, until a few months ago, working. The remuneration he received was insufficient for him to afford medical insurance. He became ill, so ill that he was unable to continue working. He recently applied for government funding for medical assistance. His application could not be made immediately because he was physically unable to get to the relevant office to make the application. The processing time for the application is between 30 and 45 days. If it is approved, he will then be able to receive the treatment he requires. In the meantime, he is forced to lie in bed in severe discomfort. He has no income and is not in a position to afford the antibiotics he requires, or even painkillers. He faces the possibility that he will lose his home. Were it the case that he had received appropriate medical care immediately, then he would be working again by now, playing a positive part in society and, more importantly, paying taxes. As a result of the delay, his condition is likely to deteriorate, and the level of care, and therefore the cost of care, is likely to increase. The time before he is able to start work again has therefore been put back 2 to 3 months at a minimum. I fail to see how this can be considered to be a sensible policy when looked at economically. But, as I have said before, I do not consider that the provision of healthcare should be a matter determined solely on economic grounds. It is a social and moral issue as well. I have spoken to Happy Cabby nearly every day for the last month. I have seen the pain and discomfort and suffering that he is going through, and his circumstances are not unusual. I would not want to live in a country in which I knew that my fellow citizens could be left to suffer as he is, just because I knew I was in the comfortable position of being able to afford medical insurance. In conclusion, the purpose of these videos has been to clarify the distorted representations made by Hannity about the NHS. The NHS is not perfect, and I am not suggesting that the United States should adopt the same system. But I do maintain that the NHS is far better, fairer, more humane, and economically sounder than the system that you have in the United States. Any reforms made to the United States health system are a matter for the people of the United States. But in making that decision, do not be fooled into thinking that the NHS is bad or ineffective, nor that the United States system is anything other than unfair, ineffective, and costly. Thank you for watching.